All right, we are live. So, hey, everybody. I just realized I put my phone down here. Maybe I should put it somewhere else.
Yes.
I'll just toss it.
Well,
I can hide it behind the laptop.
Yes, go ahead.
There, so.
Make yourself look more important.
You know, for all you guys know, I could be doing like playing solitaire on the laptop, and you wouldn't even know it. Like I'm just like looking at porn. Yeah.
That's true.
All right, so welcome back. We are here at Apollo Piano once again, and I'm realizing this is really cool because we have the decorations for Halloween. They're not real pumpkins. I know, like they look real, but they're just plastic. And and the guitar over on the other side where Melissa is also red, so it kind of matches.
It's a pink guitar.
Oh, it's pink, yeah.
Yeah, pink and orange. I don't think they really match, but anyway.
I don't really know my colors.
So how did your lesson go? Did you have to bring out the ruler?
I don't use a ruler anymore. I use a hammer because
okay.
My name's Thor. You know.
There you go. Here you go.
But I never inflict any pain.
Smash any fingers.
I just use it to intimidate people. I got my hammer. Yeah. Anyway, so how are you doing? Are you ready?
I'm doing okay. Yeah, I guess I have to be ready. We're live.
You're like, oh my gosh, we're live. I just
started talking about colors.
Yeah, and it's funny because I hit the live button and I'm like, oh, by the way, we're live. She's like, ah, oh my god.
I know.
But
you should see our thumbnails. I don't know if you take a look at them. And you know, Thor's usually no, it's fine. I'm like, oh my gosh, I wonder what your like wedding pictures are gonna look like. They're gonna be like.
I'm not even gonna care. Like I might have red eyes.
Gosh.
You know, yeah. Anyway.
Future wife beware.
It could be future wives. I could have.
Yes.
You never know. So anyway, enough shenanigans. We're going to start here. And
yes.
our last broadcast, we talked about music composition, as you might have seen. And I'm just going to recap on that, fairly quickly. And then I'm going to talk a little bit more about kind of the creative process involved in music composition. And it's actually related very much to another creative art, which is cooking. And one of the reasons why I like using that analogy is because there are a lot of people who cook. So I don't know if you're much of a chef, but
yes, I do cook.
And the ironic thing is I'm not a very good cook.
Last night I just made some brownies.
Really?
BTW. I should have brought some.
And you didn't bring them here. Yeah.
Sorry. No fairness, I did get you coffee.
You did, thank you. You got my coffee to keep me awake. And what was I going to say? Now I have a hankering for brownies.
Yes.
So thanks. Anyway, so here's what we talked about last time. We talked about the art of music composition. And I'm going to quiz you real quick. What are the two parts of a song? We talked about this last time.
Oh my gosh.
One starts with an M.
The parts of a song.
The melody,
the harmony, or accompaniment.
Yeah, exactly.
Harmony and accompaniment kind of go side by side.
So there's two parts. There's a melody and a harmony. And we talked about like the process that composers go through when they try to come up with a melody and they try to come up with a harmony.
Make sure this is close enough.
Yeah, you're doing really well with
Thor gave me some copious notes. He wrote down, he's like, Melissa, you need to be closer to the mic.
I did not write anything down.
Yes, you did.
I just said
sticky note right here next to the mic. Go
on. I gave her a memo. It's like, make sure and read this by tomorrow. Yeah. So we talked about the creative process with composing. Mm-hmm. Now, when you come up with a melody, there's certain principles and guidelines and things that work really well, things that don't work in terms of coming up with a melody that's catchy. Yes. So if you ever want to get into learning how to compose, you can do that through me. I actually teach composition on the piano. Mm-hmm. It does require a little bit of prior piano experience, but not much, maybe 6 months to a year. And that's one of the things I mentioned last time.
Probably only 3 months with me, but.
Or 3 months with her. She'll just drill it into you. She'll be like, this is what you're going to have 2 hours of homework. Yeah. She cracks the whip, right? So that is an option. If you are interested in taking piano composition, you can do that because I can teach you that and get you started. Even if it's just like one simple song that starts you off. It might not necessarily be a masterpiece when you do the first song, but it'll be something to get you started.
Like Yankee Doodle Dandy.
Like Yankee Doodle Dandy, and or something other than that. So, and then the harmony is a whole other thing where you learn different chords. That's really what harmony is. And even if you don't play the chords as chords, you can separate the notes in the chord, and they sound like that specific chord. So, if you don't know exactly what I'm talking about, what I mean is that if you play, for example, a G major chord, that has the notes G, B, and D in it. And even if you don't know that, who cares? I mean, I could be making up letters out of thin air.
Do you want me to go on a piano and play a G major chord?
Yeah, do that.
Okay.
So here is.
You will not see me play, but you will hear it.
So here is Melissa playing a G major chord. And
I'll play it with both the left hand and the right hand so you can hear it.
Yeah, with a mic, they might not be able to hear it, but do it anyway.
Cool. Give it a try.
Okay, do you guys hear that? I hope so. Yeah. Very good, Missy. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Now you get a taste of what it sounds like when Missy plays the piano.
Yes. Well, I had to play it extra loud because the piano was over there and we're over here.
Yeah, exactly. So that's what a G major sounds like. Now, if you play the notes separately,
I should just sit at the piano where
you should. Yeah.
Okay.
Like I said, they might not be able to hear it because the mics are hooked up.
Well,
but
we might as well.
Might as well, yeah. Good, yeah. So, yeah, she's just staying at the piano. Now it's just me. You said I was going to do one-man show. Now it's a one-man show. Right?
Yeah, you got your bit.
So that's what a G major sound like. So she's separating the notes. So those were the notes G, B, and D. And that's also an example of harmony. Even if the notes are played separately, that's harmony. So I think that's probably it for now. I don't know if you want to stay there or you just want to play, don't you?
Okay, I'll sit down. We'll put on a show for them.
We'll put on a show later. Yeah. That was great though.
Well, thank you.
So if you guys want to give Missy a hand, you can clap from your living room.
Your living room.
Okay, so that's what we talked about last time. And so you can learn the art of creating a good melody and creating a good harmony and combining them together. Now, here's what I want to say about cooking. Okay, when you, let's say you have 4 different chords, and I'm just going to make some up off the top of my head. So let's say you have a C minor, and then an A flat major, and an F minor, and a G suspended. So you have 4 different chords, and those 4 chords will have a certain flavor. Let's just call it a flavor. Like it has a certain, it creates a certain reaction in you emotionally. Like maybe you think it sounds sad, maybe you think it sounds mysterious, or it sounds tense or suspenseful or happy or cheerful. Yes. So different chord progressions, they create different moods, right? So when you combine those different chords, it's kind of like combining different ingredients in your dish when you're cooking.
There you go.
That's a really good analogy.
I like this analogy.
Yeah, I like it too, because people can relate to it.
Exactly.
Right. Last time I used the analogy of art, but not everybody paints. So it's like, they're like, okay, I kind of get it.
Yeah, remember what a palette is?
Yeah, no, I don't remember what a palette is. What's a palette? So anyway, when it comes to the English language, I mean, I could.
We'll stick to cooking.
Yeah, stick to cooking. But so when I use cooking as an analogy, people can relate because they're like, I know, because people have kids and they have to cook for the kids. So if you add certain ingredients, like let's say you're going to add sugar, it's going to make it taste sweet. If you add salt, it's going to make it taste salty.
Yes.
If you add oregano, it's going to give it a different taste. If you add cinnamon, it'll have like a different kind of,
Yes.
What are some other? There's spices, right? Even you cook. What do you?
I do.
Yeah.
So
there's ingredients and spices. So when you mix the different ingredients and the spices, it creates a different effect on your tongue, on your palate. That's another word. See, I know 2 palates. Yeah.
Yeah. 2 different meanings for
2 different meanings for palate now. Yeah. So it creates a different flavor in your mouth when you add different ingredients to your dish when you're cooking. The chords that you choose in your song are like the ingredients in that dish. So you choose different chords based on what kind of reaction you want to get. You want people to feel sad or melancholy. You'd want to use a lot of minor chords, maybe some major chords too, but primarily minor chords. So you could do like a C minor, an F minor, then maybe a G major, and then maybe an E minor. You have 3 minor chords, 1 major chord. So you're adding different ingredients, you're mixing different ingredients, so to speak, in the music to create a different effect. So that's the analogy that I like using. And when I start doing that, even with kids who maybe aren't like doing a lot of cooking yet because they're kids, they kind of get it. They're like, oh, so I can choose any chord I want based on what kind of flavor I want to create. Where they get stuck is they're like, well, I don't know what flavor this will make. I don't know what reaction I'll get out of this. Like, what's this going to sound like? And what do you think I would tell them if they say that?
I don't know. It's going to be either a really tasty cookie or
it'll taste weird.
it will
right?
taste weird.
But if you're cooking, how do you find that out? You experiment, right?
Yes, you experiment.
You experiment, and you go like, well, this tastes terrible. Well, then don't do it anymore. So,
yeah, take something out and add something else
yeah,
in.
exactly. You change it and experiment, and then write down which chord progressions sound good and which ones don't. So if you cook something and you add a bunch of oregano when you're making brownies, I don't know if that's a good idea. It probably isn't. It's gonna taste weird.
I would not
Yeah,
recommend it. I made brownies last night, and
Mhm.
yeah.
And this is good because it's relevant to the analogy I'm using.
Oh, it's
yeah.
very relevant.
So if you add oregano while you're making brownies, it's going to taste weird and probably very
Yes.
bitter. Who knows? So if you add something in your composition, like you add, let's say you want to add a G flat major chord when you're playing in the key of C major, and it comes out sounding really strange, well, then don't do it. You can experiment and be like, okay, I'm not combining those two chords anymore unless I want to create some different effect. Because by the way, if you play a C major followed by a G flat major, it's going to sound really weird. You can try it tonight on your piano.
Exactly.
But I know that because I've been doing this for 100 years. And just like somebody who's been cooking for a long time, they will know not to put oregano in a batch of brownies. So,
yes.
I mean, that's kind of common sense.
Well, I think when I'm starting with my 7-year-old, I just started this week, is playing the G major scales, chords, and arpeggios, and then playing. We're going to introduce to Bach's earlier music. Yeah. So, for example, when you're used to playing, when you take piano lessons, and let's say with Thor too, you're saying, okay, I want to take piano lessons, and this is what my recommendation is, and I don't know about you, Thor, but if someone were to do that, I would tell them to come twice a week, come once for a lesson, and then once for a composition lesson, because you know what I mean? If you can, do it.
Yeah, and actually I've struggled with this too. There's two potential obstacles, because I love that idea and they should do that. One obstacle obviously is the cost.
Yes.
Because the parents will have to pay double basically.
But if you can do it, I know
I agree.
I told you about Jane Bastian and San Diego. She teaches her students twice a week.
Yeah, you mentioned that.
Yeah. So I mean, ideally, I know there's the cost involved, but if you're really serious about it and you want to get good at it, that is definitely something. My chair is really squeaky.
It's like making noises.
I'm like, what the heck? But yes, I highly recommend it. It's the best way to go. Students that come to me that come twice a week, I mean, there's just
they excel.
World of difference.
Yeah.
Yes.
Because you have that ongoing training, and then I would think that they'd be more accountable because they know what they have to see you in 4 days,
Or longer lessons. I don't know what your lesson increments are, if they're a half hour, 45 minutes, or an hour.
Yeah.
So if they come for an hour, then they could do half a lesson piano and then the rest composition.
Yeah, exactly. And I've even thought about kind of changing the format a little bit and just offering that as an option.
Mm-hmm.
Most of the clients that I have aren't really up for paying that much, although I could probably convince them, because if I tell them, okay, well, your child has this amazing ability, they might be willing to front that cost. But
remember we talked about gift? And
right, yeah.
Go back to that podcast.
It's just a gift.
After you're done listening to
the baby was dropped on his head. He has a gift now. It's just genetic now. But really, though, I totally agree with you. And one of the things I've thought about doing is, doing twice a week. And let's just say, for example, on Tuesday, you come in and we do just a half an hour of basic fundamentals. Mm-hmm. And you learn songs. And you learn songs other than Yankee Doodle Dandy.
Yankee Doodle Dandy.
But you learn actual songs and you study Beethoven, Chopin, Franz Liszt, all the famous composers. Or you might get into other styles too if you want, pop, blues, whatever. And then you come in on Friday and do composition for, I don't know, half hour, 45 minutes.
There you go.
And we can work out a customized cost of how much that would cost. And we'll try not to break the bank for you. But if you're spending a lot of money, hopefully it'll be worth it, and I think it will be worth it, because the composition part, we would be able to just focus on that. And then I can just be like, play me something you worked on over the week, and they can play me something they wrote, and we can spend easily an hour going over that, where the kid will usually be very engaged because it's his or her song. Mm-hmm. And when it's your own work, you're invested in it.
But when you're exposed to the music, especially in classical music, when you're exposed to those chord progressions, it's just they come
It
like
arms you,
automatically.
yeah.
Like I said, like, you don't even have to think about it.
You have more paint on your palette.
Yes. Very
Yeah,
funny.
you have more tools,
So I
basically.
need to have time to write it down. But
yeah,
and we'll talk about that later. But yeah, I think that's
it's kind of like, so when you talk about chords, and I know I got into this last time, but like this, like going back to the paint analogy, if you're a painter and you have 4 different colors of paint on only 4, you don't have any shading, you just have red, green, blue, purple. Those are the only 4 colors you have. Wouldn't you think that your avenues of expression artistically would be very limited? You can only use 4 colors, right? So it's kind of like, that's kind of what it's like to only know how to play 4 chords on the piano. You know 4 chords, that's great, but
yes,
you want to expand a little bit and have more freedom with your expression.
exactly.
So the more chords you learn, the more colors you have, and you have different shades of colors. So now you can use dark green, light green, red, maroon. That's this one, right?
Yes.
I don't know. You probably know colors better than I do, but you know what I mean. You have more. You're armed with more tools of expression, so to speak. So the more chords you learn, the better. It sounds like we're on the Titanic in a ship scene.
I know. Yeah.
It's crazy. Her chair's like creaking. I don't know if you guys hear it. It's like,
oh, it might fall over in the middle of the podcast. You'll have a great blooper.
I would never wish that on my worst enemy, so don't worry. And
right.
No, it's true.
We talked about a light falling on me the other week.
But
I can use that in my next blooper.
But you dodged it, right? You dodged the light.
Yeah.
So anyway, but that's kind of what that is. And like there's a lot of chords. Actually, there's probably dozens or even hundreds of them because there's all these unusual ones. But you start with the major and minor chords first and go from there. And the more of them the more artistic expression you have at your disposal. And you could learn like 4 or 5 a week. You could pace yourself. Be like, well, next week I'm going to learn all the diminished chords. Yes. The week after that, I'm going to learn the sevenths. And there's 3 different types of sevenths chords, by the way. There's a dominant seventh and a major seventh and a minor seventh. So you got to learn all those.
Exactly.
So you can pace yourself. You don't have to try to cram that all into one day. That's crazy. Only she can do that.
And what I like to do with my students too is I like to spend like a month on each key signature. Quite honestly. But what we'll do, and maybe in that month, is we'll learn the major and the minor, the relative minor. So, for example, C major and A minor don't have any sharps or flats. So that's why they're related in a sense. So, like, you can technically learn 2 key signatures, but it's always best. I mean, they do have like what is called circle of fifths. So you can look that up online. It's really easy to find, and that will give you a pretty good picture of all the key signatures.
It's kind of like the holy grail of music theory. Yes, it really is. It's like the music theory Bible.
Yes.
So the circle of fifths is a diagram of a circle, and it's kind of like a lot of the music theory that you'll learn in a period of like a couple of years. If you take it at like a college level course, they cram it into this one diagram in a way. I mean, not everything, but a lot of it, because it shows how all the keys are related to each other. And it's very eloquent, the way it's designed and the way it explains how the notes are related.
Because I have it here in a book. It's called Music Fundamentals, and it has the circle of fifths in major keys and the circle of fifths in minor keys. So I recommend that you go online after we're done and look up circle of fifths in major and minor keys.
You have homework now.
Yes.
You're like, I was going to relax on this Thursday night and I have homework. Yeah, but it really is. It's a very good tool. If you've never taken music or you've never learned about key signatures, you might not know what it is, but you can still look at it just if you're curious. But it is something that, I usually don't introduce it until they get into learning like up to 4 sharps maybe, because otherwise it's a little bit overwhelming because they get into something called enharmonics, which gets really weird because some of the keys overlap with each other.
Yes.
And then you have some of the white keys that have a sharp. Like
I think they sound really cool though.
Yeah, they do.
Yeah.
That's why I write some of my songs in G flat. I don't know if you knew that.
And I didn't know that.
One of my I write a lot of my songs in G flat, and If you don't know what a G flat is, it's okay, because now you can tell your friends and you can sound intelligent when you do it. But it's a mutual friend of ours gives me a bad time about it, because she's like, why would you write a song in G flat? Just write it in G.
Oh, by the way, I was told to tell you that you need to practice your violin more.
Oh, really? And who told you that?
I don't know if it's the same mutual friend.
That kind of sounds like a threat to me. I don't know. So actually, she's right, you know. But anyway, we won't get into that. So I want to say this, and I know you have more to say.
Yes.
Because you have books on that desk.
Just a little bit more.
That's okay. But so here's the thing about this so-and-so person that wants me to practice more is if you play a song in G flat and then you play a song in G, it's a very small difference. It's only like one note difference in the song, like in terms of what note you start with. You're starting with a note that's like a half step away, and a half step is the shortest distance between two notes on the piano. Mm-hmm. Not in science, because there's actually such a thing as less than a half step, but we won't get into that. So anyway, it's a very small difference. So why would I write a song in G flat, which is a very difficult key to play in, versus a G, which is a very easy key to play in? Because somebody is always asking me why I do that. The same person that you just referenced. So do you want to hazard a guess, or do you want me to just tell you why? Like, why would I write in G flat versus G?
Well, my music theory teacher, like in school, told me, this is like when I was in junior college, told me that he thought that like major keys were like white bread. They were like very plain, and like there was like really nothing to them. Whereas like,
they are kind of boring. Yeah.
I mean, they do well when you, like you said,
yeah,
they're like, I would say, a staple ingredients in some cases when you're throwing the flour in or the sugar into the bowl, right?
Yeah.
But I would say to add a more dimension to the song.
Yeah, actually, that's true. And even though, like, if you play in G flat could still just be a regular major key. But you can add spices to it. Like, you could add a seventh. You could change
cinnamon, nutmeg.
You could add nutmeg and cinnamon, and you can change the bass note, which changes the chord a little bit. You know.
Yeah.
Like if you ever try playing a C minor, but then playing an A flat on the bass note, it gives it a really good like dissonance, and it adds conflict. So, but the reason why I sometimes write in G flat versus G is because it adds a little bit of a different shade. It's kind of like if you're painting and you want to paint the ocean, you're using a different shade of blue. You're using like a darker shade of blue or a lighter shade of blue. That's the equivalent of that.
Or like a blue-green.
Or like a blue-green.
Yes.
So you're changing the shade of your music. It sounds the same, but it sounds a little bit different because it's a little bit lower pitched or whatever. So, you know, and sometime when we have a piano up here, I can demonstrate.
Yeah, and I was thinking we should do that from now on. Maybe we can ask Vince to throw one of his, like that one up there. Or
yeah. You guys should see the pianos in here.
I know. By the way, I think I should give Vince a shout out.
Yes, you should. Go for
okay, so we were at Apollo Piano. I just want to take a little commercial break here.
After these messages.
No, we were at Apollo Piano. And we are here in Chico, California on Mangrove. And we are in presence of all these grand pianos, these wonderful pianos. There's a Yamaha C3 over there, a Yamaha C3 over there, but I like the one on the right as opposed to our left. But they're all wonderful pianos. And so if you could come on down, take a look at them. They're great. Vince also has many wonderful music classes available, such as voice, drums, guitar, you name it. You could go on the website for Apollo Music and Arts and take a look at that. I spoke to Vince a little bit earlier, and it sounds like everything's starting to open up now because they're doing more in-person instruction because the schools are open. So
yeah, and they use they practice all the social distancing too, and they also have programs where you can join like jam sessions every week with other people that play instruments. So they have different programs for kids that do that also. So it's very interactive. and they are very good about the social distancing and the mask, and they sanitize everything every day. You know, it used to be that the guests were allowed to come in and play the piano. They haven't been allowing that because of COVID, but they're very careful. And even if you don't play the pianos, they're really amazing to look at because some of them are huge.
Yes.
The one over there, I think, is like 7 feet or something. They're ridiculously big, and it's just really cool to see what a full-size grand piano looks like. And they're,
yes.
I think if you get permission and wash your hands after, you can probably play one. You know, you just come by, and they're very friendly. So.
And if you could buy one, even better.
Yeah, you can buy one, and you can lease them or rent them, and you can finance them. So I know you don't have like $40,000, or maybe you do, but if you do, you need to take me out to dinner first of all. And then come by here and buy a piano. But if you don't have $40,000, you can finance them just like you finance a car. You can pay a little bit every month, and you can even rent to own them. I think he has that option. And they also have digital pianos, which are much, much cheaper. Yes. They don't sound quite as good, but they're portable, and you can plug them in and play them anywhere. So
yeah. So if you call Apollo Piano, ask for Vince Chambers or Duncan. Either one of them can help you with your music needs.
Yeah. Exactly. Yeah, cool. So, what else do you want to? Did you say everything you wanted to say?
Well, there was something I wanted to add. I helped a dear friend of mine. I don't know if you remember our guest speaker, April Taylor, but I was really good friends with her mom, and her mom had called me up because her mom was a music teacher, composer, director, everything. And she said, "Hey, Melissa, can you help me? I'm writing this music series for our church." And it was a series of music books with hymn duets. And I have never had the experience of actually sitting down, not only, but writing ensemble or duets or anything like that. Was kind of, I don't know, I'm going to say it's out of my comfort zone, but it was definitely a different experience because I was used to playing a lot of ensemble music, but I wasn't really involved with the writing process. Mm-hmm. So it was really cool because she had a software program, and this is what I want to get into a little bit. There is software programs out there that you can get that will help you. So if you're sitting down at your musical instrument, especially if you have a keyboard, it will kind of help write on a manuscript paper whatever you are playing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And so Glenna had something similar to that, but she also had a keyboard that recorded her playing. The only thing was she had me come in because she wanted to see if the hand positions worked. Okay. Because when you're playing, you want to see, okay, will that work? And your hands crossing over, or are they, you're getting into any conflict where you're going to have to shove the other person off of the piano bench.
Well, you might do that anyway if the person annoys you. So you're talking about two people on the same instrument, right?
Yeah, two people sitting down with the same instrument at the piano. But it was really cool because I got, and her music was published. It was a success. And I was so happy she was able to do that before she had a stroke.
Yeah.
And she wasn't able to play anymore. And I missed all the time we got to sit at the piano together. But I was so happy that I was able to share that experience with her.
Yeah.
And she autographed the book, and she gave it to me. I was so excited. Mm-hmm. But just to be involved in that experience was something very unique. And I remember it always. But having said that, writing several musical parts is a challenge in its own.
Yeah, because it sounds to me like that involves collaborating too, which is a little bit different than just writing solo.
So if you play like two different instruments.
Yeah. Well, yeah, like the violin. Is that what you're saying? Yeah.
Have you tried that, Thor?
I have. Yeah. Actually, I've written a few songs that involve piano and violin.
Wow.
Including one that I've been practicing on the violin.
Well, I'd love to accompany you. Maybe we could play a duet for one of the podcasts.
We should, yeah.
Yes.
Because what I've been doing, I use one of my pianos that I have at home. I own three.
Is it Zoe? Who is it?
Well, there's Zoe and there's Isabel and there's Lana and then there's Maria, but she's a digital piano, so I don't know if that counts. Then I have another one. Anyway, so on Zoe, which is the hybrid piano, I pre-recorded a piano accompaniment.
Oh, so you pre-recorded, okay.
Yeah, and then I play the violin over that.
Wow, okay.
So instead of having the pre-recording, you can just play it.
Wow.
But that would be really fun.
Yes.
I think that'd be great.
I used to play with my daughter. Told you that.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
And also I actually performed once where I wrote a piece for piano, violin, and cello. And we performed it at St. John's Episcopal Church.
Wow.
And somebody.
Is this about the somebody that we were talking about?
I should just say her name.
Mutual friend.
Mutual friend. She played the violin part, and her relative, who I think is like a nephew or a second nephew, something or another, played the cello, and it sounded good. I mean, I don't know. I was focused on the piano, but it was good to kind of get that experience of collaborating too.
Oh yeah. Because
I had to write music for the cello, which I don't even play, and I had to write music for the violin. And it's not as easy as you might think, because even if you know the notes, you don't necessarily know what the range of the cello is.
So the cello, do you have to write it like an interval of a third down?
No, you write it in bass clef, the whole thing.
Okay.
But I mean, it's just bass clef notes, just like bass clef on the piano.
Well, from violin to cello, it's a whole separate
difference? Yeah.
Because I remember our mutual friend playing. This is so silly. She played. I told you she played the violin part in cello. And a cello,
right?
Cello
yeah. A cello has the same pitch of the notes in the bass clef as the bass clef on the piano, but do you know what I mean?
Because she was like all over the neck. I mean, it was crazy. Like when she was playing.
Right. Yeah. Well, the notes are lower. It goes.
Okay.
The range goes down much lower.
Wow.
Than
I remember. Like I don't know. I have a couple recordings I could.
Yeah.
I could show you, but anyways.
But anyway, and it's hard because here's the thing. Like let's say you're a pianist and you want to play music, you want to write music for the cello. Do you know what the lowest note on the cello is? I bet you don't know. You might know.
I don't know.
See, so if you write,
is it a low G?
That's a good guess. So it's actually a low C, but if you didn't know that,
it's 5 off.
Yeah. But actually, if you write, I think it's a low C. I might be wrong. I think there might be a bunch of cellists watching, like, no.
Yep. Everybody comment.
Comment. Yeah. So believe it or not, I've been known to be wrong once in a while. But the thing is, if you write music for the cello and you write a note that's much lower, the cellist can't play it. What is it going to do? Retune the cello? You know. So it's a challenge. You have to do a little bit of research and ask a cellist, like, is this going to work? And the cellist is like, no, you can't jump from a low G to that note. That's crazy. That's like physically impossible. I'd have to stick my arm under my leg and then twist around like a contortionist.
What are you trying to have me do?
Yeah. So you have to do some research. You have to be really, really smart to write music for other instruments. That's why it's very difficult to be a composer. Composers don't just wave their arms around. They know everything about every instrument. They know the ranges. They know the different obstacles. They know the limitations, you know. Mm-hmm. The trumpet can only play so high, for example. And I don't even know what the highest note is, but that's another example of what you have to know.
Oh, we're going to have a trumpet player on our show next week.
We are?
Yeah.
Oh, right. Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, a jazz
musician. That's
musician.
awesome. And tell me his name again.
Nolan Shahid.
Nolan Shahid. That's right.
Yes. Yes, he's an amazing, accomplished musician. And I am very excited that he's going to be on our podcast, because it's just going to go right into what we're talking here. I mean, it's amazing when you're talking to a musician who's done it for so many years and worked with so many legends.
Well, and what I'm excited about it is that he's going to be able to offer you guys a lot of insight and offer us insight. And I'm just excited because I want to hear what he has to say about his career and also his experience and his compositions, his music. Because if he plays jazz, he's probably an improviser, I imagine.
Oh yeah.
And so I'm very curious about that.
He's played with Stevie Wonder, Diana Ross, Bill Collins. You know,
just some random people. Right?
Yes.
Random famous people. That's pretty cool.
But I mean, Stevie Wonder. Oh my
That's amazing.
goodness, that's amazing.
So-
And yes.
Yeah, so you guys will be able to hear him live through the speakerphone, and that's going to be pretty exciting. So we're really hoping this is going to be a fairly good breakthrough in terms of the show. Not that this show is all we care about, but we want to get some professional musicians and
Get different people's point of views.
yeah, different styles.
Because we know you love listening to Thor and I, but you know, it's nice to hear someone else.
we can only do so much, you know.
But yeah. So anyway, Thor has some of his music linked to this YouTube channel. So if you want to check that out, you can. I'm gonna start playing more. I was thinking maybe doing some holiday music, you know, around.
Get prepped for Christmas. Yeah.
Yeah, my students are already, you know, decking the halls.
They're already decking the halls, so to speak. Yeah, mine are already requesting Christmas carols, and the parents are like, "I want Christmas music." I'm like, "Okay, I got plenty. Don't worry."
Yes.
So yeah, that's good.
Yes.
And so you're wanting to just brush up on some of the old. I mean, because I know
tickle the old ivories.
Yeah. and I mean, I imagine you already know how to play a lot of Christmas music already.
Oh yes, you know, I told you I grew up in church with my family, so Christmas musicals and playing Christmas arrangements around the holidays were definitely something that I grew up.
Yeah.
So you know, more of a family tradition. So
yeah,
it, you know, I love that time of year, but you know, it's a different kind of music too. And I love the fact that, you know, there's a lot of classical music that's kind of intertwined with.
Yeah, well, there were a lot of classical pieces that turned into Christmas songs.
Yeah, like you know, like Handel's Messiah, right?
Or J.C. Joy Mountain Siren by Bach.
Oh, there you go.
That's Bach.
Back.
Okay, well, I think we're
it's Bach.
It's Bach. Yeah.
Bach. Chopin.
And Chopin and Beethoven. Okay. So now that we're mispronouncing words, but I used palette correctly today, so that's good.
You did. Congratulations.
Thank you.
And I have a squeaky chair.
Yes. So we're at 8:07. Do we have anything else we want to?
I think we're good.
I think we're good. Thank you so much. Make sure to comment, subscribe, and tell your friends to come and subscribe. We're at 46, and we want what's 1,000 minus 46? Can you do math?
What's the can do math?
We want to get to 1,000, so make sure and tell your friends to subscribe.
I thought it was 1,000,000.
We can't. I mean, maybe one day. Maybe when we're 70.
We'll get there. But we really appreciate you tuning in and listening to us. We're having so much fun with this podcast.
I really enjoy it, and it's we're having fewer problems when we keep doing this.
Yeah, nothing's falling on us. Have a little bit of a squeaky chair, and you'll notice that Thor didn't touch the plant this week.
Oh, by the way, I gotta switch it. It's not
no.
It's recent. Okay, bye.
Bye. Thank you for joining us.
Hey, that was good.